I'm waiting for the construction noise to die down so I can make this video, but look at that view. Oh my gosh, I'm not complaining. And those are where the chickens are. Hey everyone, thank you for being here. Today we're going to learn about how to heal our relationship with ourselves. This is arguably some of the most important work you'll do in your life, and it is transformative, truly. And I just want to thank you for taking the step of even clicking on this video and recognizing that this is something you might want to incorporate into your life. Often that's the hardest part, is just taking that step. So I'm grateful to you. You should be grateful to yourself. So thank you for being here. On that note, I've got some tea here that, you know, the cup has my name on it in honor of the title of this video. This is about self-celebration. My name's Nagiz, and today I'm drinking some lemon balm tea picked fresh from the garden. I think lemon balm helps with anxiety, depression, insomnia, it's said to anyway. But yeah, drinking tea really reminds me, I think, of how powerful nature is, and tea especially I think is such an amazing ritual to get closer with nature and to reap the benefits of the different herbs and the different medicinal things that are present in nature and there to help us. So cheers to that. Healing your relationship with yourself. This is not a one and done type of thing. This is something you're gonna have to work on every day. It's not gonna be easy. Some of it is gonna require daily practice, excuse the chickens, and it's going to require unlearning habits and thinking patterns that probably you've had for your whole life. They've probably been passed down to you from your parents, your authority figures, society, the media, capitalism, and these are really powerful forces in our lives. So there's no underestimating how difficult this task is in front of you. It is definitely going to be a challenge, and it's definitely been a challenge for me, and I'm definitely not done. But there are concrete ways you can start, and I've written down, you know, the things that have worked the best for me in this notebook, and we're going to go through them together. But first I really want to talk about what self-abandonment actually looks like, and so we can understand like where we're starting, what the starting point is and why it's harmful, and then we can start to understand like how to undo some of that stuff. And all of this stuff about self-abandonment are things that I personally have experienced as well. So if you've done those things, you are not alone. There are plenty of other people watching this video who I'm sure have experienced those same things, and you know, there's nothing shameful about it. So the first sign to me of self-abandonment is people-pleasing. People-pleasing happens when you abandon your own needs in order to fulfill someone else's expectations, someone else's needs. And some of it happens because we're so uncomfortable with other people's difficult emotions that we will contort ourselves to do whatever to make sure that that other person's happy. So at the core, it's a nice thing. We don't want other people to be unhappy, but also it's can be seen sort of as manipulative because you're not showing your true self. You know, you're doing things because you want other people's approval, but it's not authentic, you know. So people pleasing is actually a huge barrier to authentic relationships where you're seen and loved and accepted for who you are. So that is something I used to do. You know, I felt very lonely. Everyone thought of me as like likable and nice, but actually I didn't like myself, and I resented other people for not knowing who I was, even though I was the one who was perpetuating this problem by continuing to be really nice, even though like maybe sometimes I didn't feel like being nice. And that leads very nicely into the other aspect of self-abandonment, which is constantly being preoccupied about what other people think, what other people's judgments are of you. It truly does not matter. other people have their own life experiences, their own lens of looking at things that might affect the way that they see you, but no one else knows you and your story like you do. If someone gets a snippet of you or gets a snippet of your life and judges you or thinks something of you because of that, that is entirely their business and it has no bearing on you. And that also leads into wanting to fulfill societal expectations instead of trying to understand like what it is you authentically feel and want and value. Society has certain norms of behavior, norms of thought, and generally you're accepted and you're sort of left alone if you fulfill those norms, especially when it comes to gender or race or your societal standing. But actually those things are designed, I think, largely to make other people comfortable, to make sure that the status quo continues. So actually societal expectations and fulfilling them and being preoccupied with fulfilling them is a form of self-abandonment, especially if societal expectations violate your own values and you and what you yourself feel to be true. Another aspect of self-abandonment is self-doubt, lack of self-trust. So if you're constantly looking to other people to verify what you might already know intuitively because you're not sure, or you don't trust your ability to rise to a challenge or overcome some sort of hurdle, then that is quite a harrowing thing. And another aspect of that is perfectionism, expecting yourself never to make mistakes and really berating yourself when you do make mistakes is a really harmful form of self-abandonment. And then another, I think, less talked about aspect of self-abandonment is disconnection from your body and an unhealthy relationship with food. I think especially for women, this is a big problem. If you don't accept certain aspects of your body, like your belly or, you know, your chin or whatever it is, that is a form of self-abandonment. Your body is your vessel in this life, and when you're trying to hide or shrink certain parts of your body to fulfill societal expectations of what a body should look like, then that is a form of self-abandonment. And then that goes into food. You know, if you're policing what's going into your body, if you're perhaps stopping yourself from being nourished, stopping your organs, your gut flora from being properly nourished with healthy food, and you know, sometimes eating what your body wants to eat, even if that's deemed unhealthy, and eating intuitively. I think eating disorders point to an unhealed relationship with self. And then some of the darker aspects of this, of self-abandonment, is accepting abuse and being in abusive, codependent relationships. Those types of relationships can be really harmful and actually further deepen the divide of the relationship we have with ourselves and make us doubt ourselves even more, make us become even more perfectionist, make us want to people please even more. So all of the things that I've mentioned, if you partake in any of these behaviors, it actually serves to worsen your relationship with yourself. None of it is a permanent solution to feeling good and feeling content and feeling happy. That being said, let's talk about how to undo some of this. And these are things that I personally have done that have worked, you know, and just as proof, I'll show you. I mean, if you look back at my older videos, you know, I wanted to have makeup on and I wanted my hair to look great for the videos, and you know, I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to see myself and how I was looking, for example. You know, now I don't really care how I look. It just doesn't matter to me as much as it did before. People pleasing, I mean, I was a raging people pleaser. People who knew me in my early 20s will attest. And now that's just not the case anymore. I truly think that the techniques and the healing practices that I've undergone have worked. So continue watching if you want to find out. The first and most important thing that you must do, and this will never truly be done, but you have to take the time to get to know yourself. And you have to treat yourself like you would treat a friend. Because we're with ourselves all the time, we take it for granted that we actually need to constantly be working on our relationship with ourselves, constantly be exploring ourselves. I read somewhere that the mind is like an ocean. So the daily thoughts we have, the daily emotions we have are like the ripples and the waves on top of the ocean, but the subconscious mind and how deep the mind actually is can be compared to the depth of the ocean and the vastness of the ocean. You can't explore the ocean just by treading water. You know, you have to dive in. You have to go to those dark depths with a flashlight and see what's going on down there. And that doesn't happen in one day. You know, you need to take time to really explore who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what do you like, what do you not like. You, not other people and what they expect of you, but you. I'm sure you were expecting this, but meditation, mindfulness, being aware of what you're feeling in any given moment, being aware that like maybe if you're going into a negative thought pattern, just saying to yourself, oh, okay, cool, negative thought pattern. And not judging yourself for anything that arises is a very, very powerful way of getting to know yourself. So mindfulness, meditation, yoga is a great practice for getting to know your body and seeing, you know, pushing the limits of your body and seeing what's comfortable for your body. So yeah, don't discount your body as obviously part of yourself, an extension of yourself. And you know, we explore the bodies of our romantic partners, so why not explore your own body, even if it's by doing yoga or if it's in a more sensual way. You know, whatever feels right for you and whatever helps you learn more about yourself. Part of that is going to require solitude. Solitude is extremely powerful because it allows you to drown out all the noise of life and other people and sit with yourself and get to know yourself. And there's a difference between loneliness and solitude. I think solitude is chosen, and it doesn't mean that you sit there and, you know, scroll on your phone or immediately find an activity to do. It's about actually just sitting and being with yourself and just being. Definitely when you're in solitude, incorporating a journaling practice. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't need to go out and get a special journal. It could just be notes app in your phone. For me personally, I would just create a Notion page with just a table of monthly logs. So at the end of each month, I would just answer some prompts that I just came up with, and sometimes they would change, but the ones that I liked the most, I think taught me the most, are what are you most grateful for? What's your biggest worry? What's changed the most in the past month? What's thriving and what's not? What is important to my happiness right now? And what are my biggest challenges? And I think the most valuable part of this exercise for me was looking back on previous months and seeing what had changed. And some of it was really reassuring, like something that was really, really worrying me one month. I would look back on it a month later and think, oh, that was like silly, like that got sorted out, I sorted that out. So it really helped build trust in myself. Oh my gosh, the birds. But it really helped build trust in myself and see that sometimes your worries are not relevant and they're not like end of the world things that you need to just like immediately fix. Sometimes they fix themselves. So yeah, all of this stuff goes under the umbrella of taking the time to get to know yourself. Shh! You know what, I tried to get the birds to quieten down, but it's kind of nice. The second way that you can start to heal your relationship with yourself is by setting boundaries. For people who are used to you people pleasing and you bending over backwards for them, this is not going to be an easy task. It's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to cause arguments, and it's going to make people angry. Bro, the birds stopped, but the construction started again. I actually cannot deal. There's honestly not too much I can tell you about this that you can't get from the book When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. It was written in 1975, so some of the advice is a little bit outdated, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of like you get a look into history and what stuff was like back then. Not that different, because humans will be humans. But that book has incredibly useful tips for being assertive, which is going to help you protect yourself and stop other people from, you know, kind of like leeching onto your energy, especially your kind, empathetic energy. And my favorite tip, if you're not going to read the book, my favorite and most useful tip that I employ in my daily life is the broken record. So the broken record is a technique that you use where you just literally say the same thing over and over again to someone who's trying to guilt you or manipulate you into something. So if someone tries to get you to justify something or over-explain yourself, you just continue to say the same thing over and over again, and eventually they just give up because you're not giving them what they need. Read this book. If you struggle with setting boundaries, if you struggle with, you know, standing up for yourself, being assertive, I promise this book will help you. There's a whole host of tips in there. So go get the book. And then another tip is to be okay with discomfort. A lot of these changes that you're going to make, you are going to make people uncomfortable, you're going to make yourself uncomfortable, but it's about realizing that discomfort is not a dangerous emotion. It feels dangerous because growing up we were taught to not make other people uncomfortable, and that discomfort wasn't something that was acceptable. You know, I think for most of us that's probably true. But realizing that discomfort and uncomfortable feelings are okay, and, you know, there's no need to run away from them, there's no need to do anything to try to minimize those uncomfortable feelings for yourself or other people, and realizing that the entire mission of what you're trying to do, which is heal your relationship with yourself, is much more important than temporary discomfort that will pass. I promise you it'll pass. And yeah, this is something I'm still working on. I'm still grappling with. It's not easy, but realizing that this is something that is continually going to make people uncomfortable is just something you'll have to accept. And then that leads me quite nicely into the next tip, which is about reparenting your inner child. This is extremely important and difficult, and some of it is going to help you be closer to your body, like some of the body stuff that I was talking about, you know, not accepting like certain parts of our bodies that, you know, society doesn't accept. Believe it or not, talking to yourself like a parent would talk to you and trying to rewire your brain is such a powerful way of healing your relationship with yourself. I'll give you an example. You know, for me, my stomach has always been a little bit of an insecurity, and there was a time last year when I was really on this journey, deep in this journey of self-healing, when I just sat in front of the mirror and I just looked at my belly in the mirror, didn't try to suck it in, just looked at it. I held my belly and I just started saying comforting and loving words to myself the way a mother would. And I just said, I love you, I accept you, your belly is nothing to be ashamed of, it's part of you, it represents the food you have eaten, all the delicious food that you've eaten, it represents your body trying to protect your inner organs, it represents the abundance in your life and how lucky are you that you are able to eat enough food, that your body is able to store all of the extra food that you've eaten to protect you in case something happens. That was such a healing, incredible moment for me, and it really allowed me to take further steps and let my inner parent shine through and when you give your inner parent a voice and when you actually say it out loud, it makes it so much more powerful. But reparenting your inner child can come in many forms. When you're feeling scared, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling, difficult emotions, you can let your inner parent shine through and let them just come out and start to talk to yourself. Say, okay, I know you're feeling scared right now. What is this about? How can I help you? I can sense that you're feeling angry right now. I can sense that maybe you need this right now. You need water, you need sleep. Whatever it is, talk to yourself. Talk to yourself like a parent would. That maybe your parents didn't speak to you that way, but you are now able to do that. You're an adult. You're someone who can give yourself that reassurance and that love that maybe you didn't get. The other aspect of self-healing is starting to let go of the approval of others and understanding that the approval of others is meaningless. People might approve of you. You might fulfill people's expectations for a certain period of time, but you have to understand that will always be fleeting and it will always be conditional. Even the people who claim to love us most, they are human beings. They are fallible, they are subject to their own stuff, and our sense of feeling okay and feeling content should never hinge on someone else approving of us. And this is something I have had to work on a lot. And if you haven't taken this step yet of internalizing that, it would be a great exercise for you, I think, to start to be aware of when you are seeking approval, to start to be aware of when you are disappointed, when you didn't get someone's approval. And once that awareness happens, it's a pretty smooth path to not needing that again. For some people, it takes longer than others. For me, certainly, it's taken a long time. I'm still working on this, but the most important thing that you can take away from this is that truly other people's approval does not matter. The next tip I have for you is to reclaim your power. If you have a marginalized identity, this is a monumental task. I do not underestimate how difficult it is to reclaim power in the face of destructive and oppressive systems. But to get you started on that journey, I would really recommend reading When I Dare to Be Powerful by Audre Lorde. This work was such a transformative book for me as a woman. Reclaiming your power in the face of a society that is male-centric, that is rooted in white supremacy, that is Eurocentric, it's not easy, and certainly I do not have all the answers for that. One of my favorite quotes from this book that I think about constantly, and I have it on my wall, and it really, really helped me when I was doubting myself or when I was wanting to conform to other people's expectations. I am who I am, doing what I came to do, acting upon you like a drug or a chisel to remind you of your meanness as I discover you in myself. If you do have an identity that deviates from the norm, or if you do have a value that deviates from societal expectations, realize that your existence is radical. Your existence serves to change the world. Your existence is so important, and when you live in your authenticity, you pave the way. You change society like a chisel. You are the chisel that changes society, that chips away at the social norms of society. So you being authentic to yourself is actually a radical thing, and it helps change the world. So what you're doing is not just for yourself. That is a responsibility, and it's your choice whether you want to take that on or not. But just think about that quote, and I hope it helps you as much as it has helped me. Another book that has been really helpful for me in my journey is All About Love by Bell Hooks. This book, I think, should be required reading for every single human being. The way we talk about love in our society is not helpful, and it doesn't actually teach us how to love ourselves, how to love each other. And for me, this book really laid all of that bare. And I would really recommend for you not only to read this book, but to do a love audit of all the love you have in your life, or all the love you think you have in your life, and really do an analysis of what's serving you and what's not. The most important lesson that I learned from that book is love and abuse cannot coexist. If someone loves you and if you love yourself, you are committed to the spiritual growth of that person. If you love yourself, you are committed to your own spiritual growth. So if someone is not committed to your growth, it's hard to say that they love you. You can use some really useful metrics to measure the love that you have in your life, both with other people and yourself. So ask yourself, is there respect in this relationship? Is there mutual trust? Is there care? Is there affection? Is there recognition? And is there commitment? And these are the ingredients of love that Bell Hooks lays out in her book. And it's really helpful for me to go through the relationships in my life and see, okay, like, are these ingredients there? And if not, why not? And what can I work on, both with myself and with others? And then this brings me to my last point. Your mind, I know I've used the analogy of an ocean, but it's also useful to think of your mind as a garden that you must tend to. Negative thoughts and negative patterns will come up in your mind like weeds, but make sure that the garden of your mind is tended to regularly, it's watered, it's fertilized, and accept that weeds will come up. Weeds are part of the ecosystem of your mind, but if you can tend to the garden of your mind, you can make your mind a nice place to be. You can make it so that when you fall asleep at night, you're not sitting there with swirling thoughts of anxiousness and negativity that stop you from sleeping. And I speak from experience. You can sit there and tell yourself, my mind is my garden and weeds are part of it and I accept it. And I will work every day to tend to it, to make sure that it is a place of healing, a place of love, a place of care, a safe place. Because you're in your mind constantly. Your mind is the lens through which you see the world. And if it's a nice place, then the world will also be a nice place and you can help make the world a nice place. Remember that you don't just do this work for yourself. When you are brave enough to take these steps to heal your relationship with yourself, to be authentic to who you are, you show others that it's okay to do that as well. And don't underestimate the impact of that. It is a brave thing to do and it is a kinder thing to do than abandoning yourself. So I really hope you enjoyed these tips. I really hope they're useful for you. Let me know if you have any other tips, because I'm still on this journey myself, and if something has worked for you, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, thank you for watching my video. I'm Nagiz, it's been really nice to have you here, and I'll see you again very soon.